places to be houses of study, and in every religious service, Torah comes in because study and spirit and thought and mind are all integrated. Page 134.
משכנותיך ישראל, מה טובו, מה טובו, אוהליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל, ואני ברוב חסדך אבוא ביתך, אשתחווה לך על קודשך ביראתך. מה טובו, מה טובו, אוהליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל, מה טובו, מה טובו, אוהליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. אדוני אהבתי מעון ביתך, ומקום משכן כבודך, משכן כבודך, ואני אשתחווה אכרע בברכה לפני אדוני אושרי. מה טובו, מה טובו, אוהליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל, מה טובו, מה טובו, אוהליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. ואני תפילתי לך, אדוני, את רצון אלוהים ברוב חסדך, אלוהים ברוב חסדך, הנני באמת אישך. מה טובו, מה טובו, אוהליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל, מה טובו, מה טובו, אוהליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל, משכנותיך ישראל.
I did something that my mother always taught me never to do, which is I should always introduce myself and our Chazan. I'm Rabbi John Rosoff. I'm the senior rabbi here, Chazan Dani Massing and Tali Tadmor on piano. And I also want to send a shout-out greeting to family who are in Paris, France. This is being live streamed, by the way. In Florida, Boston, Youngstown, Ohio, Pittsburgh, Chicago, Atlanta, and Wisconsin. And if I missed your place, all of you out there in the other places of the world, forgive us. We are thinking of you. The families are sending you love. I'd like to ask now the B'nai Mitzvah to join me and your parents in the center aisle, and I'd like everybody else to stand and come close for the presentation of our Talit. You can find that on page 188 in your prayer books.
Switch it up.
The reason is because the switch was off. What we're about to do is parents are going to present their talit, their prayer shawls, to their son and their daughter, and the grandmother is going to do that as well. Those of you who are familiar, and some of you are wearing talitot. Talitot is the plural for talit. Sometimes it's called talis, which is the Ashkenazi pronunciation. Talitot is the Sephardic and the way they say it in Israel these days. You'll notice on the corners 4 fringes, each that, and if you want to count, there are 8 strings. There are 5 double knots. Let's have a little math lesson here. 8 plus 5 equals 13. The word talit is spelled taf, lamed, yud, taf. No, tzitzit is spelled tzadi, yud, taf, and each Hebrew letter has a number equivalent. Tzadi equals 90, yud is 10, tzadi 90, yud is 10, taf is 400. What does that equal? 600. You add 600 in the word of tzitzit, and the 8 of the strings and the 5 of the double knots, and you get 613. And what is 613? The number, not just positive, positive and negative, that is thou shalt and thou shalt not. All of the mitzvot, the commandments in the Hebrew Bible, we're told to look upon our tzitzit and know to do the mitzvot of Adonai our God. And if you count now, there's something else you notice. If you count the number of wrappings between the knots, those of you who have a talit, take a look. There should be 7 moving out from the corner, then 8, then 11, and then 13. 7 plus 8 equals 15. And if you look at the Hebrew name for God between the 2 lions, you can see coming down Yud He, Vav He, Yud He equals 10 plus 5, 15. Vav is 6, He is 5. 6 plus 5 equals 11. So you have already name of God in the fringes. And the last one, 13, is Echad. Aleph, Chet, Dalet. 1 plus 8 plus 5, which is 13. Ahava is also 13. Echad is 13. And when you take all of this symbolism together, you have a love for Torah, a love for mitzvot, a love for the Jewish people, a love for God, a love for all of humankind. And that, Alice and Zach, is what's surrounding you on this morning, not only symbolically in your new talit, but everybody who loves you is around you and affirming and witnessing what you are becoming on this day, which is a full member of the adult Jewish community. So on page 188, you'll find some readings, and our parents are going to read them, and we begin with Lane.
Weave for us a garment of brightness. May the warp be the white light of morning. May the weft be the red light of evening. May the fringes be the falling rain.
May the border be the standing rainbow. Thus weave us a garment of brightness, that we may walk fittingly where birds sing, that we may walk fittingly where grass is green.
As you envelop yourself in the fringed garment, may you recall and preserve the tradition of the generations and the visions of the people of Israel. May you be clothed with the mantle of ethical and spiritual responsibility, and may the lessons of Torah inspire you, guide you, and fill you with pride and joy in being a Jew.
As you wrap yourself in the tallit, may you be hopeful and optimistic about your future. May you discover the beauty of the fringed garment and the inspiration of the mitzvot. May you approach with gentleness and kindness all those you encounter on the journey of your life and bring greater peace into the world.
Recalling the generations, I wrap myself in the talit. May my mind be clear, my spirit open, as I envelop myself in prayer. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehit ateh v'tzitzit.
Kiss it. Kiss it. Put it on. And we sing Shehachianu Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Shehachianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Amen. Mazal tov. Please, everybody go back to your seats. We will go up, and I believe that Alice has some thoughts to share before our first prayer.
This prayer is about our bodies and how God makes our bodies work. To me, this prayer is thanking God for making our bodies work properly, because if we didn't work right, we wouldn't be able to function and live our everyday lives. A question that arises for me is, why doesn't God always make everyone's bodies work properly all the time? For instance, my grandparents couldn't make it to my bat mitzvah today because my grandfather is having some difficulty with his leg. Why does God make an otherwise perfect creation sometimes not work properly? Why can't God make everyone work right all the time? And can we still be grateful for the parts that do work well?
Page 134, first blessing of the morning blessings, Asher Yatzah.
138. אשר יצר את האדם מחוכמה וברא בו נקבים נקבים חלולים חלולים אשר יצר את האדם בחוכמה וברא בו נקבים נקבים חלולים חלולים גלוי וידוע לפני כיסא כבודך שאם יפתח אחד מהם או יסתם אחד מהם אי אפשר להתקיים ולעמוד לפניך ברוך אתה אדוני רופא כל בשר ומפליא לעשות.
Elohai Neshama. I think this prayer is about God giving a person life. To be honest, I don't think there is any distinction between the soul and the body because I think we are who we are as an integrated whole. I wonder how anyone could prove to us that we have souls since they have qualities that we can't taste, touch, smell, see, or hear.
Page 141.
Elohai, Elohai, neshama, שנתת בי טהוראי. אלוהי, אלוהי, נשמה, שנתת בי טהוראי. אתה בראת, אתה יצרת, אתה נפחת בי, ואתה משמרה בקרבי. אלוהי, אלוהי, נשמה, שנתת בי טהוראי. אלוהי, נשמה, אלוהי, נשמה.
One of the first tasks in striving for holiness is to recognize that we are not God, and God is not us, though each of us is inspired with the divine spark. Behind me on the ark, above the ark doors, is a passage from the Talmud which says, Da lifnei mi ata omed, know before whom you stand. And we stand always as limited beings with great capacity and great potential to do great things, but we are limited beings against the totality and the vastness of time, in time and space of the Creator. On page 145 is a blessing which affirms the absolute uniqueness of God's creative capacities and powers.
ברוך שאמר והיה העולם, ברוך הוא, ברוך הוא, ברוך שאמר והיה העולם, ברוך הוא, ברוך ברוך עושה בראשית, ברוך אומר ועושה, ברוך גוזר ומקיים, ברוך מרחם על הארץ, ברוך מרחם על הבריות, ברוך משלם שכר טוב לרעב, ברוך חי לעד וקיים לנצח, ברוך פודה ומציל, ברוך שמו.
In the American Declaration of Independence, we're told that each person has the inalienable right to pursue one's happiness. Judaism doesn't look at life in those terms. Happiness is a byproduct of other things. It's not a goal in and of itself. And we start with humility, and humility inspires us to be generous because we recognize that we all belong to each other and need each other, and we need to help each other. And when we have humility and generosity, we appreciate things much better. So those three virtues, I think, humility, generosity, and gratitude, is what will make for a self-satisfied human being. We're asked who is the wise person? No, we're asked who is the wealthy person? Ezehu ashir hasameach b'chelko, the one who is content with one's portion. And that again comes through humility, generosity, and gratitude. That's what we do on page 146 in many, many different ways to express our gratitude and thanksgiving.
הודו אדוני כי טוב, כי לעולם חסדו. הודו לאלוהי האלוהים, כי לעולם חסדו, כי לעולם חסדו. הודו לאדוני האדונים, כי לעולם חסדו. לעושה נפלאות גדולות לבדו, כי לעולם חסדו, כי לעולם חסדו. כי לעולם חסדו, כי לעולם חסדו. הודו לאדוני כי טוב, כי לעולם חסדו, לעולם חסדו. כי לעולם חסדו, כי לעולם חסדו. הודו לאדוני כי טוב, כי לעולם חסדו, לעולם חסדו. לגוזר ים סוף יגזרים, כי לעולם חסדו. והעביר ישראל בתוכו, כי לעולם חסדו, כי לעולם חסדו. למוליך עמו במדבר, כי לעולם חסדו. למכה מלאכים גדולים, כי לעולם חסדו, כי לעולם חסדו. כי לעולם חסדו, כי לעולם חסדו. הודו לאדוני כי טוב, כי לעולם חסדו, לעולם חסדו. כי לעולם חסדו, כי לעולם חסדו. הודו לאדוני כי טוב, כי לעולם חסדו, לעולם חסדו. ונתן ארצם לנחלה, כי לעולם חסדו. נחלה לישראל עבדו, כי לעולם חסדו, כי לעולם חסדו. נותן לחם לכל בשר, כי לעולם חסדו. הודו לאל השמיים, כי לעולם חסדו, כי לעולם חסדו. כי לעולם חסדו, כי לעולם חסדו. הודו לאדוני כי טוב, כי לעולם חסדו, לעולם חסדו. כי לעולם חסדו, כי לעולם חסדו. הודו לאדוני כי טוב, כי לעולם חסדו, לעולם חסדו, לעולם חסדו, לעולם חסדו. So here's the principle, young people to my right. If you can see me, I can see you, which means that whatever I do, you can see, but also whatever you do, I can see as well. And I would love to do this service not with my eyes closed all the time so that I can't see things I don't want to see. So if you would be so kind and so sweet and so polite to refrain from doing what you were doing when I saw you as you were seeing me seeing you, I would be terribly appreciative. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom.
And you will enable us to feel even more grateful if you do, as Chazan Vassing suggests. And gratitude is a goal of our service. I'd like to ask Alice and Zach to come forward to lead us and help lead us in Psalm 150, the last of the Psalms on page 153.
Hallelu, hallelu, hallelu. Hallelu, hallelu, hallelu. Hallelu, hallelu, hallelu. Hallelu, 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 hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelu, hallelujah, 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 el bekodsho, hallelujah, birkia uzo, hallelujah, bigvurotav, hallelujah, kerov godlo, hallelujah, 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 beteka shofar, hallelujah, benevel vechinor, hallelujah, betofu machol, hallelujah, minim beugab, hallelujah, 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 betzilzlei shama, hallelujah, betzilzlei truah, hallelujah, betzilzlei shama, hallelujah, betzilzlei truah, kol hanshama te'alelia, hallelujah, hallelujah, kol hanshama te'alelia, hallelujah, hallelujah.
All we have done so far is warm up. Our service will begin shortly, but I would ask you all to rise, to turn to each other, to introduce yourselves and welcome each other and say Shabbat Shalom.
Oh, good. We did good.
We got this.
We got it.
Hold on. Mommy.
Mom! Hey, Mom. Lane Codell. Dad. Tell my dad. Tell my dad. Tell my mom. You know what? No, you're fine. Dad.
So, what's next?
We got this number 2 for
This
me.
one.
And then this
yeah.
one. This one
I
right
don't
here.
know.
I don't know that either. English.
We did it yesterday.
We return now to our service, page 201. We remain standing for the Baruch Hu, the call to worship. That's after.
Yay, da 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 da. Yay, da 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 da. Yay, da 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 da. Yay, da 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 da. Yay, da 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 da. Yay, da 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 da. Yay, da 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 da. Yay, da 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 da. ברכו את אדוני המבורך ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד המבורך לעולם ועד.
I think this prayer encourages us to thank God for life. It tells us to thank God for the day, the morning, the night, the stars, life, and death. I appreciate that this prayer encourages us to give thanks for things we might otherwise take for granted.
And that prayer is called the Yotzer. The English is on page 202, and please join together. We thank you, O God, for this new day, for morning sun and evening star, for flowering tree and flowing tide, for life-giving rains and cooling breezes, for the earth's patient turning, the seasons' alternation, the cycle of growth and decay, of life and death. When our eyes behold the world, when we feel its beauty and grandeur, we come to see the wisdom and goodness of its creator. We awake and behold a new day. God, renew us unto life. Teach us to recognize your presence in creation. Grateful then for your gifts, we will dedicate all our powers to your service. On page 203. O God, the guide and inspiration of all humanity, you have spoken in 1,000 tongues for all to hear. In every land and age, we, your children, have heard your voice and imagined you in our separate ways. Together. And yet, O God, you are one. Though each may see you differently, you are the one God of all humanity. We give thanks for the sages and teachers of all peoples and faiths who have brought many to deeper understanding of you and your will. Lawmakers and prophets, the psalmists and sages of Israel. And joyfully we remember that from the very dawn of Israel's life, your children have turned to you and found strength.
May the teaching of our ancestors live on in our minds, and their passion for righteousness retain its power to our hearts.
And everybody together. Help us, O God, so to live that our daily conduct may reveal the beauty of our faith, and that the house of Israel may continue to bear witness to your truth.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Please be seated and join us in the Ve'ahavta on page 204.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Amen. About a week and a half ago, the Jewish world gathered in homes around a Seder table to review the Exodus from Egypt. And I just want to help all of us place ourselves in the scene. We have been slaves for a generation. We are going God knows where, leaving everything that we ever knew. And standing behind us, we see the Egyptian chariots coming after us. The sea miraculously parts, and we walk forward on dry land. And when we get to the other side, we see the waters close in upon the Egyptians. How would you feel? Terrorized? In awe? Fearful? Exhilarated? A combination of all of them. Miriam took the women and they started dancing. The angels started to cheer in heaven, and God, rebuked them, saying, "How can you celebrate while my creatures are perishing?" It is a very confusing and difficult time. And for the next 49 days after that, the people would wander and eventually come to Mount Sinai, where they would enter into a covenant with the God of the universe, the God of Israel. It was an extraordinary period that we're in right now. And within this period as well, tonight and tomorrow, the Jewish world will commemorate Yom HaShoah, a modern example of what happened in Egypt, probably much worse. And also Yom Ha'atzmaut, Israel independence, the rebirth of the Jewish people. And then we move to Shavuot, when we receive the law. This period is no less monumental in the Jewish calendar year as the High Holy Day period, where we celebrate creation and God's sovereignty and our absolute humility. All of those are themes in this service as well. The Micha Mocha on page 206 is among the oldest poems in Jewish tradition, and is an extraordinary moment for us to celebrate together.
Ay, 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 yababam bam bim bam, mi chamocha bailim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar bakodesh, nora teilot osef pele, nora teilot osef pele, bam bam bim bim bam, yababam bam bim bam. Bam bam bim bim bam ya bam bam bim bam ay 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 ya bam bam bim bam ay 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 ya bam bam bim bam. Sur Israel kuma bezrat Israel uftekinu mecha Yehuda veYisrael גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו קדוש ישראל ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. אדוני שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך אדוני שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. O God, open up my lips as I begin to pray. O God, open up my lips as I begin to pray. Adonai, שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. אדוני, שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק, אלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי לאה ואלוהי רחל, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גואל לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה מתים אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיה מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה מתים. נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וכרז אל זה ואמר, קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ כבודו. אדיר אדירנו אדוני אדוננו, מאדיר שמך בכל הארץ. ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. אחד הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו ומלכנו, הוא מושיענו והוא ישמיענו, ברחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם. אלוהיך ציון לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש. משבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
We continue on our own through to page 221, and when you're finished, feel free to be seated. Continue with 2 statements, blessings on page 213 that celebrate Shabbat. One, V'shamru v'nei Yisrael, the other, Yismechu v'malchutcha, a special part of the liturgy that's only read and celebrated on Shabbat, not during the rest of the week.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם, לדורותם ברית עולם. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שומרי שבת, וקורא וקורא עונג שבת. עם מקדש שבי כולם, יספרו ויתאמרו, יספרו ויתאמרו מטובך. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שומרי שבת, וקורא וקורא עונג שבת. והשביעי רצית בו וקידשתו חמדת ימים, חמדת ימים אותו קראת זכר למעשה למעשה בראשית. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שומרי שבת, וקורא וקורא עונג שבת. On page 220, we have my favorite prayer. Elohai Netzor, God, guard my tongue from evil and my lips from speaking falsehoods. And to those who curse me, may my soul be silent, and my soul shall be, it says here, Benafshi ke'afar l'chol tiyeh. It's translated usually in English as dust, but afar is not dust. Efer is dust. Afar is soil. Actually, soil that you can till. It's soil that can grow things. May my soul be like earth that can be tilled. That my soul is not a utilitarian gift given to me by God for my consumption. It is actually a gift for me to return to humanity. That I should till my soul as I till soil. That my soul shall grow fruit, sustenance for the rest of humanity. That I don't just use my soul for my own selfish needs. I love this prayer because I think that rather than just asking for humility, it is asking for everything that I have to be for beautiful and good purpose, for a kind gift back to the one who gave my soul to me to begin with. Elohai Netzor 220. אלוהי נצור לשוני מרע ושפתי מדבר מרמה מילים כללי נפשי תדום ונפשי כעפר לכל תהיה אלוהי אלוהי נצור לשוני מרע ושפתי מדבר מרמה מילים כללי נפשי תדום ונפשי כעפר לכל תהיה אלוהי 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 נצור לשוני מרע ושפתי מדבר מרמה מילים כללי נפשי תדום ונפשי כעפר לכל תהיה אלוהי אלוהי נצור לשוני מרע ושפתי מדבר מרמה מילים כללי נפשי תדום ונפשי כעפר לכל תהיה אלוהי 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 נצור לשוני מרע ושפתי מדבר מרמה מילים כללי נפשי תדום ונפשי כעפר לכל תהיה אלוהי אלוהי יהיו לרצון אמרי פי והגיון ליבי לפניך אדוני
As I said when we commenced our service, that this is Shabbat Kedoshim, and which deals primarily with the question of holiness, Kedusha, coming from the root Kuf Dalet Shin. The word is in Kiddush for Shabbat, sanctification of the Shabbat, where we use the wine, the Kaddish, the sanctification of God's name that has many functions, one of which is what we say over mourners, the Kedusha, which is the holiest prayer in our Amidah, our standing prayer, Kiddushin, which is the name for the marriage ceremony. Everything involving something transcendent and other is what is Kadosh. And taking off from what Chazan Masing said, the word for soul in that prayer, Elohai Nitzur, is nefesh. There are a number of different names for soul. There's nefesh, which our sages say is the animal soul, is that which ties us most to our body, that is living and breathing. There is ruach, which is spirit that's tied to our emotions, our emotional state. And then there is something that we don't own, but is a gift. All life is a gift. But the neshama, the breath of God that was breathed into Adam and became a nefesh chayai, a living soul, is there for each one of us. The neshama, it's as though it's hovering above us. All we have to do is open our hearts, p'tach libi, b'toratecha, open our hearts with Torah to take and assume our own neshama. And when we do that, that's when we enter into the state of Kedusha, of holiness. We're not Kedusha unless our neshama, our ruach, and our nefesh are working together towards some holy end, to lift the dust, that which is tilled in the ground, to a higher transcendent level. That is the essence, I believe. There are lots of interpretation, but I believe that's the essence of what Kedusha is, what Kedoshim is. And when we take our Torahs after our Hakafah and we turn to chapter 19 in the book of Leviticus, read through the 37 verses. There are only 37. It's a 6th century BCE code, law code, the last of the 3 law codes of the Bible. And in 37 sentences, you can see exactly what the later biblical mind thought was constituted holiness in Kedoshim. In a few moments, the generations of our family will come onto the bima to receive Torah and pass through the generations. We now turn to page 228 for our service taking Torah from the Ark.
אין כמוך באלוהים אדוני, ואין כמעשיך, מלכותך מלכות כל עולמים, וממשלתך בכל דור ודור. אדוני מלך, אדוני מלך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני עוש לעמו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום. עם הרחמים היטיבה ברצונך את ציון, תבנה חומות ירושלים, תבנה חומות ירושלים, כי בך לבד בטחנו, מלך רם ונישא אדון עולמים. ויהי בנשוא אהרון ויאמר משה, קומה אדוני, ויפוצו אויביך, וינוסו משנאיך מפניך. כי מציון תצא תורה, כי מציון תצא תורה, ודבר אדוני מירושלים. ברוך שנתן תורה תורה, ברוך שנתן תורה תורה, קדושתו.
This is the covenant which dedicates Israel to the one and eternal God. This is the Torah, the pillar of right and of truth. This is the law which proclaims the sovereignty of God and the unity of all creation. Let us acknowledge the truths of its teachings as together we proclaim the supreme watchword of our faith.
שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד, אחד אלוהינו, גדול אדוננו, קדוש שמו, גדלו לאדוני איתי, ונרוממה שמו יחדיו. הגדולה והגבורה והתפארת והנצח וההוד כי כל בשמיים ובארץ כי כל בשמיים ובארץ לך אדוני הממלכה והמתנשא לכל ראש. אלך עמדה ליבי חוסנה ואל נא תתעלם אלך חמדה 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 ליבי חוסנה ואל נא תתעלם.
While we're getting set here, please go and take a copy of the Torah commentary. You can be seated, and there should be enough for everybody to look on as our B'nai Mitzvah read. While you're getting set, you might have noticed that we passed 2 Sifrei Torah through the generations, and I'm making special note of it today on the Shabbat before Yom HaShoah, Holocaust Memorial Day. Both of those scrolls that Zach and Alice carried through the congregation are what are called pasul. Pasul means they are not kosher to be read. What makes a Torah kosher to be read is that all the letters are perfect, as it was originally crafted. Now, scribes can come in and restore Sifrei Torah. However, those two scrolls are so badly damaged from the Holocaust, they're both survivors of the Holocaust, that our scribe, about 10 years ago, when I wanted to see if we could restore them, he said, John, if you try, you'll destroy what's left of it because the parchment itself was so badly damaged. The one that Alice was carrying, the larger one, is from Czechoslovakia. It's about 300 years old. And it was part of a group of 1,574 scrolls that were hidden by the Jewish community of the former Czechoslovakia and only discovered long after the war. They were dead. The Sifrei Torah were not. And they were purchased by a synagogue in London. And the ones that could be restored and all of them were distributed to synagogues around the world, and we were the lucky recipients of one of them in 1975. The other one was saved on Kristallnacht by Rabbi Max Nussbaum, who was our rabbi here from 1942 to 1974, when his synagogue was burning after the Nazis had torched Jewish businesses, synagogues, community centers, and homes, and arrested thousands and killed about 100 people. He took it out of the burning synagogue and then he hid it until he escaped in 1940 and he brought it to us. So Yom HaShoah, we are commemorating tonight. You're welcome to come back in a very, very exciting program. I'll explain it later. But I wanted you to know that why we returned those Torahs to the Ark and why we're reading from a kasher Torah. They, like the broken tablets of the law, also were in the tabernacle through the period of the wandering and had a holy place and have sparks too. Just like the very, very old among us, though they are diminished and disabled, many of them, they too have sparks of God within them, and we revere them as we would a complete Torah. So our first reader this morning will be Allison, and Alice, known to most people, but formerly Allison, and she will introduce her portion.
The Torah portion for this Shabbat is Kedoshim. It is taken from the book of Leviticus, chapter 19, verses 1 through 15, and can be found in your Torah commentaries starting on page 798.
And we call forward the parents of our bat mitzvah, Joel Rom and Sandra Suchka. Yamod Avha Shala bat mitzvah Yuda Avraham ben Chaim Shmuel Ubluma la Torah.
Baruch Hu Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach leolam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol hamim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai notein haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayadaber Adonai el Moshe lemor. Daber el kol adat b'nei Israel. Vayamarta alehem kedoshim tihiyu. Ki kadosh ani Adonai Elohechem. Ish imo ve'aviv tira'u ve'et shabtotai tishmoru ani Adonai Elohechem. Al tifnu el ha'elilim ve'elohe masecha lo tasu lachem ani Adonai Elohechem.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam natan b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai notein haTorah.
Amen. For the honor of the second Aliyah, we call forward an aunt, uncle, and the sister of our bat mitzvah, Jackie and Mark Rome and Julia Rome. Yamdu l'aliyah hashniya la Torah.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bahar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Natin HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Behi tizbechu zevach shlamim ladonai lirtzonchem tizbechu beyom zivhachem yeachel umimochorat v'hanotar ad yom hashlishi ba'esh yisaref. Ve'im he'achol ye'achel beyom hashlishi pigul chu lo yiratzeh ve'yochlav avono yisach ki et kodesh Adonai hilel v'nechrata hanefesh hahi meyameya.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Natan Lanu Torat Emet V'chayei Olam Nata B'toheinu Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
And for the honor of the third Aliyah, dear friends of our Bat Mitzvah, Greg Hillary and Isabel Fisher, Yamdu l'Aliyah HaShlishit LaTorah. That's the idea. The Mishnah, by the way, tells us that one should run to Torah.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Uvkutzechem et katzir artechem lo techale pe'at tzadcha liktzor v'leket ketzircha lo telaket v'charmecha lo te'olel uferet karmecha lo telaket le'ani v'leger ta'azov otam ani Adonai Elohechem. Lo tignovu, velo techachashu, velo teshakru, ish bayamito, velo teshavu bishmi lashaker, v'hilata et shem Elohecha ani Adonai.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Natan Lanu Et Torat Emet V'chayei Olam V'ata B'tuvenu Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
And for the fourth Aliyah, we call forward our Bat Mitzvah for this morning, Allison, otherwise known as Alice, Johanna Rome, Tamod l'Aliyah HaRevi'it Bat Mitzvah Sarah Rivka Bat Yehuda Avraham La Torah.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai hamvarach leolam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamvarach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen.
Lo ta'asok et re'acha, v'lo tigzol, lo talihin, pe'ulat sahir, idha ad boker. Lo tekalel heresh, v'lifnei iver, lo titen mikshol, v'yareta melohecha, ani Adonai. Lo ta'asu avel b'mishpat, lo tisa panei dal, v'lo techdar panei gadol, v'tzedek tishpot amitecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'hayei olam nata betohenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen. Well done. I'd like to ask Lane and Rick if you come up now. While they're coming up, I want to offer a blessing of healing on behalf of a few people in particular, but also we welcome other names of people who are suffering from illness or recovering from surgery or from abuse or from broken hearts or whatever is ailing them. Particularly, I'd like to mention the name of Elmer Bornheimer, who is an uncle to Alice, as well as Alice's grandfather, Howard Rome, and Zach's great-grandmother, Betty Newberger, who was in Boston. The blessing you can find on page 238 in your prayer books. To do this over an open ark is a very significant thing in that these are Eitz Chaim, these are trees of life, these wooden rollers on either side, and the Torah itself is life. Misha berach avotenu Avraham, Yitzhak, v'Yaakov, v'imotenu Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, v'Leah, v'yivarech v'yirapeh hacholim ha'ele, HaKadosh Baruch Hu yimaleh rachamim aleihem, lachlimam rapotam, lachzikam, lachyotam, v'yishlach lahem b'mheira refuah shlema, refuat ha'nefesh, refuat ha'guf, b'toch sha'ah cholei Yisrael, hashta'a b'agala v'zman kariv, v'nomar Amen. And for the next Aliyah, Tamod l'Aliyah ha'chamishit, ha'ima shel bar mitzvah, liba Miriam bat Avraham ve'ela bat Zion la Torah.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamavarach.
Baruch Adonai hamvarach leolam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamarach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen. And we're continuing where we were, verse 16, on page 800.
Amen. Lo tele rahil be'ameha, lo tamod aldam reha, ani Adonai. Lo tisna et ahiha biovaveha. Hoheya tohia et amiteha, v'lo tisalav heid. Lo tikom, v'lo titor et b'nei ameha, ve'ahavta areha kamoha. Ani Adonai Elohecha, ani Adonai et hukotai tishmoru behem teha, lo tarbiyah Kilaim Sadha lo tizra kilayim uveged kilayim shatnez lo yale aleha.
Well done.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chaye olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
And for the sixth Aliyah for this morning, we call forward grandparents Bonnie Padel, Tony, and Mary Padel. Yamdu l'Aliyah hashishit la Torah.
Baruch hu et Adonai
Baruch Le'olam.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher baruch mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Ve'ish kishkav e'isha shikvat zera ve'hevi shivha neharefet le'ish ve'hofte lo nivdata o husha lo nitan la bikoret tihye lo yumtu kilo hupasha vehevi et ashamo ladonai el peta ohel moed el asham vehi per alav hakohen ba'ayil ha'asham lifnei Adonai el hatato asher hata v'nesla lo mechatato asher chata.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'hayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
For the seventh Aliyah, we call forward uncles and aunts of our Bar Mitzvah, Mark Podell, Robin and Adam Pick, Hunter Podell and Haley Podell, Yamdu, L'Aliyah HaShvi'it, La Torah.
Baruch
Adonai Baruch Olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Vehitavo'u el haaretz, untatem kol eitz ma'aha, orlato et pirio, shalosh shanim, yihye lahem arilim lo yahel, uvashana ha'arvit yihye kol pirio, kodesh hilulim ladonai, uvashana hahamishit, tohu et pirio, lehosif lahem tavuato, ani Adonai Elohim, lo techlu al hadam, lo tenahashu, velo teonenu.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam natan b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen.
For the honor of the 8th and final aliyah, we call forward a bar mitzvah. Zachary Martin Camino, Yamod l'aliyah hashminit, habar mitzvah Chaim Menachem ben Liba Miriam la Torah.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvarah.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach leolam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bahar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Okay. Lo takifu pe'at roshem, velo tashit et pe'at zekaneha, vaseret la nefesh, lo titnu bivsarhem, uktovet ka'aka, lo titnu bahem, ani Adonai, al tehalel et bita lehaznota, velo tashit tizne haaretz, umala haaretz zima, et shabtotai tishmoru umikdashi tira'u, ani Adonai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'hayei olam nata v'tohenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yasher koach, Zach. Well done. And now I'd like to call forward Joel Rome, as well as Julia Rome, Joel to be our Magbiah, and Julia and Bonnie and Richard Forbes to be a Golalim. And as Joel lifts the Torah, would you all please rise?
וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל על פי אדוני ביד משה.
words every clergy person loves to be able to say to a congregation. Ye may be seated. Or not.
The Haftarah is taken from the prophetic book Amos, chapter 9, verses 7 through 12, and can be found in your Torah commentary starting on page 814. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nvi'im tovim v'ratza b'divreichem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai haboher b'Torah uv Moshe avdo uv Yisrael amo uvin v'yeh ha'emet b'tzedek. Halo chivnei chushim atem li b'nei Yisrael ne'um Adonai. Halo et Yisrael he'eleti me'eretz Mitzrayim uflishtim mikaftor va'aram mikir hinei einei Adonai Elohim b'mamlacha ha'hata'ah v'hishmadati ota me'al pnei ha'adamah Efes ki lo ashmid et beit Yaakov ne'um Adonai ki hinei anochi metzaveh v'hanioti v'chol hagoyim et beit Yisrael ka'asher yinoah bakvara v'lo yipol tzeror aretz.
Ba'erev yamutu kol hata'ei ami hamrim lo tagish v'tagdim ba'adenu hara'ah bayom hahu Akim et Sukkah David hanofelet v'gedarti et pirzehen v'harisotav Akim uvnitiha kimeolam leman Yershu et sherit Edon v'hohagoyim Asher nikra shmi alehen ne'um Adonai oseh zot. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam tzur kol ha'olamim tzadik b'chol hadorot ha'el ha'ne'eman ha'omer ve'oseh hamdaber kayeh shekol devarav emet v'tzedek al ha'torah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al hanvi'im ve'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu likdusha v'linuha lehavod ultifaret al hakol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim la umvarhim ota yitbarak shimha v'fi kol chai tamid le'olam va'ed Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Amen. Yishar koach. And it is customary on sweet and happy occasions also to offer a mishaberach. A mishaberach is not only offered when people are ill, but also as a congratulations. And this one is for our two bnei mitzvah today.
משברך, 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 שברך אבותינו. משברך, 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 משברך אמותינו. משברך, 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 משברך אבותינו. משברך, 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 משברך אמותינו. Generations standing with us, singing with us on this joyful day. All our hopes and all our blessings, all our wishes are for you today. משברך, משברך, שברך אבותינו. משברך, 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 משברך אמותינו. Raise your voices, lift them higher, sing your blessings on this day of days. What a moment, what a blessing, celebrating on this day of days. משברך, 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 משברך אבותינו. משברך, 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 משברך אמותינו. משברך אמותינו.
I'd like to invite at this time several people to come forward to open the ark so we can return the Torah to the ark. Ethan Rome, Isabel Fisher, Sean and Colette Rogers, Dennis Rosner, and Preston Podell. Would you please come forward? We turn to page 232 and we rise together as we lift the Torah and go to the ark.
יהללו את שם אדוני, כי נשגב שמו לבדו. הודו על ארץ ושמיים, וירם קרן לעמו. תהילה לכל חסידיו, לבני ישראל עם קרובו. Hallelujah. עץ חיים היא למחזיקים בה, בתומכיה מאושר, דרכיה דרכי נועם, וכל נתיבותיה שלום. השיבנו אדוני אליך ונשובה. קדש קדש ימינו, קדש ימינו כקדם.
Please be seated.
What does it mean to be holy? That is a question that many people have pondered for generations. What does it mean to be holy? I, too, struggle to find an answer to this question. But after studying this week's Torah portion, I finally figured out what being holy means to me. To me, being holy means being kind and respectful, listening to others, and helping out the community. Being holy means not just thinking of yourself, but thinking about how to do things for other people. This week's Torah portion, Kedoshim, includes the Holiness Code. It contains all of the rules that we need to follow in order to be holy. The first rule is, "You shall be holy, for I, the eternal your God, am holy." What does this first rule mean? Why would this rule be the first one? I think that this rule simply means that God is holy and that the Israelites should be holy too. God wants the Israelites to be kind and respectful to one another and to care for each other and help each other and not just think about themselves. The reason I think that God wants the Israelites to be holy, caring, and kind is that it would simply make the world a better place. Whenever people are nice to me, it makes me feel happy, and it makes me want to be nice to other people. I also hope that the people that I make happy will then be kind to others, and then that those people will be kind to other people, and so on. That is what a holy community is, and that is why I think God made this rule the first rule of the Holiness Code, because it is really important to live in a caring community. The second rule in Kedoshim is, you shall each revere your mother and father. God is saying that we should respect our parents and that we should be kind to them. I think that it is really important to respect our parents since they raised us and they do so many things for us, and most people take these things for granted. I respect my parents by doing what they tell me or ask me to do most of the time, and by being kind to them. I also respect my teachers. I do the homework they give me and I listen to what they tell me, and I appreciate them. I think that this commandment is really the foundation for honoring everyone in our community, because everywhere we look, we can see people who are helping to guide and teach us, like our teachers and friends, and I think they deserve our honor. Rabbi Josie asked me if I feel like I'm someone who helps other people get along. My answer was yes. I think I am someone who tries to get everyone around me to get along. I really don't like not liking people. Whenever I find someone who says they hate people, I try to tell them they don't, because I feel like hating people isn't actually a thing, and there is never anyone that I hate. Ever since I can remember, my sister has told me that it's bad to hate people, and that hate is a really strong word that too many people say but don't really mean. Instead, I try to spread some love around and make people happy. I try to help people become friends with others. If two of my friends who don't know each other come to my house, I try to get them to become friends. The third rule in the Holiness Code is, do not turn to idols or make molten gods for yourself. This rule is important because the Israelites had built a golden calf and worshipped it instead of worshiping God. Today, instead of idols like the golden calf, too many people worship technology. People are crazy with technology. I know some people that are always on their phones. As soon as I post something on Instagram, these people like it, just seconds after I post it. Just like the golden calf, technology distracts us from each other. Hardly anyone talks to each other anymore. Too often, people will just text each other instead of actually talking. One of the big reasons why I think it is important to talk to each other face to face is that, just like the idols distracted our ancestors from God and what was holy in the world, technology distracts us from seeing the holiness in each other. The fourth and final rule Rabbi Josie and I analyzed is, when you reap the harvest of your land, you shall not reap all the way to the edges of your field. You shall not pick your vineyard bare or gather the fallen fruit from your vineyard. You shall leave them for the poor and the stranger. How could this possibly apply to modern-day life in urban Los Angeles? We don't really have any crops that we grow or vineyards to leave food on. But that's not really the point of this rule. God is telling the Israelites to leave some of their crops for the people who don't have enough money to buy or grow their own food. Part of what God means by not picking your fruit bare is not living your whole life thinking only of yourself. It means leaving some of your energy for helping or thinking of other people. I feel like I do this by cheering people up if they are sad, helping people if they need help, and trying to spread happiness everywhere I can. To me, becoming a bat mitzvah means more than just becoming an adult. It means seeing the holiness in myself and letting others see it too. Part of becoming a bat mitzvah is becoming a better person and letting my inner mensch shine through.
Okay. This week's Torah portion, Kiddushim, is about rules that help build connections among people. Teaching people to honor one another, love each other, and care for each other. In this Torah portion, I think some rules are fair and some aren't. Most of the rules in Kiddushim have to do with respect. This teaches people they have to respect their family and friends. Most rules are made for a reason, and I always want to know the reason behind them. With this week's Torah portion, I tried to figure out why some rules were made. Some were easy to figure out, like love your fellow as yourself, but some were harder to figure out, like you should not sow a field with 2 kinds of seed. As I said, most of the rules based around respect, and it was hard to me to figure out why the Torah had to make these into specific rules. I believe everyone should just have respect for each other, but not everyone has the same ideas. For example, my dad and I argue almost every day because we have 2 different completely ideas of what a clean room looks like. To one person, respect can mean something completely different than to another. To one person, respect can mean you're not being rude, but to another, it might mean being talkative and caring. We need Kiddushim as an outside perspective to tell us what respect is. But Kiddushim isn't just applied in the past. We've come to a place today where people aren't nice to each other. So even today, we need rules about respect. At my school, it's a rule we have to be respectful to the teachers and our classmates. At home, one issue we have respect is privacy. We fit 5 people into a small house, and sometimes privacy is an issue. But we do have to respect each other's privacy, so we do. Sometimes an outside look can be helpful. For example, at my school, we have seating charts at lunch. I think they're terrible, but I do know they could help someone if they're new to the school, or if you're seated with a group of people you aren't friends with, you can meet them. This teaches us how to respect each other because we can become friends with people we don't know, and it pretty much forces us to talk to new people. And that's why we need Kiddushim, to help us become better people. Rules apply in everything. My rules at home are to listen, take the dogs for walks, take the trash out, and do well in school. But not all the rules in Kiddushim are about how we act. Some are about the way we should feel. For example, the portion teaches, you should not bear a grudge. A month or so ago, I was pretty mad and I didn't want to be around someone who was significantly important in my life. It went on for a while, but finally I said what I needed to say and let go of the grudge, and now everything is fine. When I was holding a grudge, I was just mad all the time. It's hard to hold a grudge, but it's also hard when you don't want to forgive someone. But in the end, you should, because it will make your life easier and make you feel better, especially if it's someone who really matters to you and you need them in your life. As most of you know, I do parkour. Parkour is a form of motion that gets you from one place to another as creatively as you can. For example, flipping over obstacles, jumping off high things, or climbing walls, drain pipes, and the side of buildings. I've been doing parkour for a couple of years now. Parkour is important to me because it's fun, a way to keep in shape, and it gets my mind off what's happening in my life that bugs me. It gives my mind a way to focus on one thing that is happening, and that's parkour. In parkour, there are no rules, and that might be why I like it so much. It's a free sport. There is no right or wrong way to do a trick. When I do parkour, I feel free. As important as rules are, I think we need time away from rules, where we can just be free in ourselves. That's why I love parkour so much. To me, becoming a bar mitzvah means that I have to be respectful to my elders and my family, and that I have to respect the rules that are given to me. It also means becoming better at controlling my emotions, and through all my sports and whatever I do in life, I should have the same level of honor for everybody.
So, Alice and Zach, mazel tov to both of you. You both are very different from each other, and you are both superb today. Let me say that. Zach, I know how much of a struggle it was to get you to this place. In your family, with our program, and boy, did you rise to the occasion. Rabbi Josie has been sharing with me all along There was a point a few months back where she didn't know what to do. And suddenly you clicked in, which is really one of your gifts. When you focus, you can do anything. I know in your gymnastics and in your snowboarding, which I'm looking forward to seeing that YouTube event of yours that nobody else has accomplished. And I will probably feel the same fear that your parents fear whenever you do it. You know, you have great capacity. You're intelligent, you're focused, you're as good an athlete as there is, and you can take all of those and do the very things that you said that being a bar mitzvah is all about, is being respectful, being careful, being free, but also living according to a certain structure in life that uplifts your life in the way that you feel, I have a feeling you feel right now, because you've accomplished something today that my guess is you didn't think you could do 6 months, even a year ago. Am I right? Yeah, okay, I knew that. I knew that, and you can. You just showed it. Alice, as I shared with you before, there's a line in your Devar Torah I will never forget, that I love, and that I will quote you on, that hate is not a thing. Hate is not, did you hear her say it? Hate is not a thing. It's not a thing to you because you're incapable of hate. You are a huge heart. And it shows just in the way you carry yourself, in the way you interact with people, in your mitzvah project, which I was very impressed with. I'm impressed with both of your projects, by the way. And for those of you in the brochures that you picked up, they both described what they did. Your concern for small, poor children and this diaper project that you really committed to and raised a huge amount of money for to help poor families. What a mitzvah. And that comes from the heart. I look forward to visiting your restaurant where you're a great chef one day. I look forward to seeing you in the Olympics, Zach, maybe, if that's where you end up. But whatever you both do, I have no doubt that you will be full of heart in it and successful in it in the following way, that it will be who you are to the very best of your ability to be. So I salute you on this day as B'nai Mitzvah, whose whole purpose is to do, as you both said, which is to transcend the small ego of the self to something much bigger than both of you, to help people always to be kind and to be respectful towards everybody, whether they're very old or very young, as you both demonstrate in your life. I'd like to ask at this time your parents to come forward because they're going to share a special blessing, as well as a number of very close family and friends who will hold the poles for our talit. Annie and Thomas Kingston, Amanda Altman and Henry Suchka, Robin McAlpine, Duncan Sennett, Jessica Jada, and Lulu Pastore. If you'll all come forward onto the bima.
Alice, it's our honor to present you to the congregation and the people of Israel as a bat mitzvah with this blessing.
May you embrace life to the fullest and find inspiration everywhere. May you appreciate your gifts of mind and intellect and nurture the virtues of empathy and kindness. May your sense of humor afford you comfort in difficult times and bring joy to others.
May you remember this day and feel grateful to all the generations of the Jewish people who have come before us. May God smile upon you, bathe you in spiritual light, and embrace you with love. We love you very much.
We love you very much.
Zach, with pride and joy, we celebrate you becoming a bar mitzvah.
Our hope is that you approach life and its challenges with intention, purpose, passion, commitment, courage, and patience.
May you be blessed with curiosity, peace, understanding, wisdom, and compassion, and that you may make the world a better and kinder place.
May your self-confidence and determination bring you strength in times of uncertainty and darkness.
May your heart be open to love, your mind open to ideas, and your life be filled with loving family and friends.
May you appreciate and cultivate the gifts of mind, intellect, and nurture the virtues of patience and perseverance.
May you use your creativity, enthusiasm for life, and spirit of adventure to bring greater insight, kindness, excitement, and beauty into the world.
May you deepen your sense of empathy for others less fortunate than you, and may you continue to act generously on their behalf.
And may you always remember this special day. Take pride in your Jewish heritage and your accomplishment as a bar mitzvah. We are so proud of you, and we love you more than words can express.
Now it's my honor to be able to invoke upon you God's blessing. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God bless you and keep you. May God's light shine on you and be gracious to you. May God lift up the divine countenance upon you and grant you peace. Amen. We rise now as we open the Ark for the Elenu, page 282.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
Remember at this time all of our beloved dead, especially members of the family who didn't live to see this day but would have been so very proud. Nathaniel Golden, Julia and Alois Suchka, David Suchka, and Yelena Sanchez. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be a blessing. If there are other people for whom you are mourning in the first year or commemorating a yahrzeit and you'd like to include their names as we say Kaddish, please put your hand up so I can see you and tell us their names. Yes.
singer.
Zichronam livracha, may their memories be a blessing. We continue with the Mourner's Kaddish on page 292. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach la'olam o'omei omaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei dekucha brichu. Leila min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, da'amiran ba'oma v'imru amen. Yehei shlomo rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to the bereaved among us. And we say together, amen.
Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen.
Please be seated. It's a pleasure to call forward Dory Lamar, a member of our Board of Trustees, to make some presentations to our B'nai Mitzvah, so you both come too.
Alice and Zach, Mazel Tov. You both were such a joy to witness this morning. Your collective, wisdom, empathy, intelligence, bravery was a pleasure to see. And on behalf of the board and the entire congregation, I'm pleased to present you with the certificates of B'nai Mitzvah. They acknowledge all the hard work that you've done to get to this point in your lives and all the time you spent preparing for this joyful day. It also represents a thank you and gratitude from past generations and honoring the present and honoring the future. And also that you've decided to tell this story and continue your Jewish education. So, we have your certificate and a book, and then also Alice, and a book. And then there's also a certificate for travel to Israel from NIFTY, and hopefully you will continue to pursue the future land and see new ground if you haven't already been there. And then Zach, also this is for you as well.
That's the box.
Yes, but it has a little wine.
So, Zach, this is from the Women of Temple Israel. So if you will take it and lead us in the Kiddush. Alice got hers last week. We give them to all of our kids. And would you lead us in Kiddush? And then we'll have Hamotzi as well.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
And Alice, would you do us the honor of cutting the bread? Don't put that spell. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam המוציא לחם מן הארץ
בתיאבון. Shabbat Shalom and Mazal Tov to the Bnei Mitzvah. Bonsoir, Paris. Tonight in Paris, or today right here, we are going to be singing Adon Olam, Maître du Monde, on page 351, and the melody that we use today is actually a French Sephardic melody for Adon Olam, which was originally a Huguenot melody. our great friends and protectors in France. God bless them. So Adon Olam, page 351.
אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא לנעשה בחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא אזי מלך שמו נקרא ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא והוא היה והוא הווה והוא יהיה בתפארה והוא יהיה בתפארה והוא אחד ואין שני להמשילו להכבירה בלי ראשית בלי תכלית ולא העוז והמשרה ולא העוז והמשרה והוא אלי וחי גואלי בצור חבי בצרה והוא ניסי ומנוס לי מנת כוסי ביום אקרא מנת כוסי ביום אקרא בידו אפקיד רוחי בעת ישן והעירה ועם רוחי גבייתי אדוני לי ולא יירא אדוני לי ולא יירא.
Shabbat Shalom, Mazal Tov.
It's nice, it's sweet, and once people will know it, it's easy to pick up. Yeah. So just so you know, there's like a cloud of people up here tonight. Where will the menorah? So what I'm thinking is to put the menorah right